Hey, Podnutsians, welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode 248, which, if I was a numerologist, I'm sure is something because 2 times 4 equals 8. Here's the long and the short of it. My name is Dork Geek. Welcome to Podnuts, where you're not only a listener, you're an equal contributor as much as me or anybody else. I am joined this evening by Bruce Patterson, but I'm going to first say thanks for everyone for their Patreon support. The easiest way to support this network in its entirety is patreon.com/podnuts. This episode is brought to you by Jack Pittman, who has contributed for over 20 months is the way that I'll put it. And I do believe he's still an active Patreon. So I'll definitely say thank you very much for all of the support, Jack. And thanks, Bruce Patterson, for all the support he's also given. How's everything going, Bruce?
Everything's going pretty well. In fact, in the immortal words of our illustrious Michael Jackson, just remember, if you can't feed the baby, don't have the baby.
I'm not going to lie. I almost forgot he said that. And I'll give a quick medical update. If you want to know the details, you can listen to the latest episode of DDG. I literally go over my doctor's findings and everything that happened. Long and the short of it is I have 2 things going wrong. One in my neck that requires rest, and the other in both shoulders that requires exercise, which means no good can come out of it. He gave me a cortisone shot right directly into my shoulder in the office. Seconds later, 90% of the pain was gone. After that, it took at least 4 or 5 days for my muscles to stop feeling pain from 3 months of being locked up kind of thing. I still wake up every day in pain, go to bed every day in pain, but it's insanely more manageable.
Now, is that off? Was that a sports injury of some kind, an accident?
Well, the neck was a fist fighting injury with a guy who was 600 pounds, or at least he seemed like it. And the shoulder injury in my left shoulder was from nothing. It was from me being a 12 to 13-year-old boy hearing Cal Ripken, a.k.a. Calvin Alvin Ripken, because that's his real name, claim that milk does the body good. You should drink more milk. I should drink more milk. I drank 6 gallons a week of milk. Thus, now I have calcific tendinitis on both ankles, both knees, one hip, and now I know both shoulders have calcium deposits.
Wow, awesome news from Cal Ripken. Well, at least he didn't tell you that, 1 in 3 men ultimately get prostate cancer from drinking unbelievable amounts of milk. So you've got that in your corner now.
Yeah, and thankfully he didn't catch me with his wife because he beat the crap out of the last guy.
There's still time.
Yeah. I will say in the Linux Libre free open source world, I've no problem in saying I hate when I'm right. Everything is moving, I believe, towards the inevitability of Microsoft slowly transitioning into being a security-based company. And I think number one, when it comes to security, is embracing other operating systems. They're releasing an Android device here very shortly, which I predicted 2 years ago or so. And they're going to embrace Linux more and more and more. The pundits believe extend, embrace, extinguish. I believe extend, embrace, and become part of it. And absorb all the good parts of it kind of thing. I don't think they want to extinguish Linux, but they want themselves to be the main point for people to access it.
Now, taking a step back, and of course, I'm going to create a tinfoil hat at some point and actually wear it when we have these segments because I'm largely talking out of the other end of my body. But I find it a little curious that Microsoft makes this kind of announcement because I know that for a while they used to have full teams dedicated to planting these rootkits from Microsoft. For Linux. So I find it unusual. It's like, hey, found this tool. It'll do you guys a world of good. Of course, on a foundation of nothing. and basically giving the Linux community, it's almost the cheapest way of getting street cred, if you want, in some ways, because it seems like, we're doing you a favor because we found this weapon and we're going to use it for good, not evil.
Yeah, I mean, since we had old white people retire from Microsoft, I do believe they've pivoted. I don't think their moral or ethical compass has changed whatsoever, but the leadership has definitely changed. And I got bad news for you, Bruce. MIT studies proved like 2 years ago, tinfoil hats actually amplify most of the signals that the people who wear a tinfoil hat would want to block. So, you know.
Oh, foiled again.
Well, I mean, you can try, but to really get full effect, you need a Faraday cage where it completely surrounds you, and it needs to be of a type of mesh that actually inhibits radio type frequencies. Tin is unfortunately a great conductor of it.
Well, let me segue into this. As you may or may not know, because I mean, it's Harvard University after all. They built a massive building for the Division of Engineering and Applied Sciences. It is a massive, massive building. I mean, it's probably half the size of Harvard Stadium. But anyway, speaking of Faraday cages, one of the things that they did was they created almost a similar mesh structure around the building for that reason, and inadvertently created a massive dead spot for anybody who has a cell phone. So, win-win.
As I was gonna say, I'm sure the teachers and instructors love that.
Well, interestingly enough, I think one thing that will never, ever defeat spies in general is another Harvard professor actually was arrested this past spring for working with the Chinese government, claiming that he wasn't using their resources and wasn't taking their money. And it's clear he really did. Professor Charles Lieber. Yep, we name names. It's out there. People know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This type of thing has been going on since the beginning of time, and it's never going to stop. We are always looking at meddling with everybody else's affairs, whether it be elections or anything else. Right now, there are hundreds of thousands of teams all around the world trying to get into other countries digitally or physically and steal secrets, whether it be on like new vaccines that might become of interest or just, state secrets. It's never going to stop.
No, and not to get too far off the point, there was actually an interesting article in Foreign Affairs this month discussing there's a Japanese protocol which basically was passed at the World Summit, and it actually was meant to be protective for countries when they come across a virus or an illness of this stature. It allows the country the flexibility of saying, all right, we found this, we're going to share it out to the rest of the world. This protocol actually is being used in the wrong spirit. So these nations figured, well, it's our call, so we're totally going to keep it to ourselves. And well done, folks, because we're seeing numbers of illnesses on the rise that is just unprecedented. I don't know what this will all look like in another year or so, but holy cow, we've got to reverse the ship soon.
Well, I mean, I'm a non-absolutionist, and I got to say that slow. Non-absolutionist. There's good things, like the number of flu victims is down near zero. Unfortunately, stuff like child abuse and spousal abuse is insanely high. The only constant is change. Perfection is unobtainable. All we can try to do is to make things better. And I'll say like this, the only way to stop countries from trying to infiltrate other countries is to just be open. We are seeing unmatched communications between all countries when it comes to finding cures for the Rona. And that's how you stop people to try to infiltrate your ecosystem to get knowledge, is you don't hoard it in the first place. You know what I mean? And we're seeing some countries being unbelievably transparent, and I have no problem saying US, UK, Japan are three of the countries who are being unbelievably open with all the things that they're finding out. And like, here's the, for instance, Bruce, there's 4 places: Japan, UK, some Ohio college, maybe the Ohio State, I can't remember, and there was a 4th place. All have developed a breathalyzer test that can tell you in 2 seconds if you're currently infected with a coronavirus, which it sounds like common sense. If that's how it's being transmitted, well, then why don't you make a test to test how it's being transmitted? So the best thing about 2020 is the amount of innovation that we're going to see in the history books. In hindsight, is going to be grand. Yes, bad things happen as well. Guess what? Welcome to any other year that's ever existed. Perfection is unobtainable.
Well, also, I think this will also be the year of the network engineer. I mean, this is their time to shine. And I'm going to tell you, up until we ended up with the pandemic, and I'm hoping not too many of the guys see this, but anyway, the fact is we never really thought much of our network engineers. I mean, they were just considered, these over-the-hill guys who were just sitting off in the corner, who usually are very confrontational when you ask them to do something, or just asking them to do their job. But I have to tell you, the group of people under the new regime, they have hit everything right on the head. We have had no downtime. In fact, the only time we had downtime was when a major cable was cut in New York. So, I mean, and those things are a little unavoidable. But the fact is that these network guys came to the forefront, and I guess they are the university's heroes for now.
I truly believe all the higher network engineers and all the higher domain administrators inadvertently made things better for everyone, because now they have to dog food. They have to VPN into the networks just like everybody else. They have to do stuff from their own house just like everybody else. So they made sure that when they needed to do their job, it worked. Thus, we're the beneficiaries of it now. And I have no problem saying I've done more in the last 3 months than I've done maybe in the last 5 years of my job. And it's because everything's right here. The bathroom is 6 steps away, not multiple doors away. Lunch is 20 steps away instead of a mile down the road. I don't have people randomly stopping by. Hey, Steve, can I ask you question? Taking 20 minutes to get to the damn point kind of thing. I've had none of that, and I've really been productive. I hate to say it. I'm happy.
However, I want to ask this question, though. Don't you find yourself a little bit more exhausted at the end of the day, too?
Yes, but that's why now I've said, Steve, things are going to change. I have these exercise bands, basically elastic plastic, where I'm having to have I can't remember the right word, Pomodoro, Italian-based tomato technique of you work for a certain amount of time and then you reward yourself with free time, where I'm going to do that. So every 25 minutes, I'm going to stand up for right here, and for 10 minutes, do exercises. And then sit down for another 25 minutes and reward myself every 20-ish minutes or so by doing some kind of exercise to where I can get up from the desk.
Well, I think one of the things I've been struggling is, I'm a stupid man. And so it took me probably about three months in to realize I need a routine, because I've got to tell you, one day melds into the next. And if you don't start setting boundaries and, some kind of a routine, your days are just endless, and that could be psychologically draining. In fact, I can't tell you how many appointments I started missing in the first part because of that. But anyway, a little circle back to the point of the show. So, what do you want to... Actually, we've got viewer mail.
Oh yeah, we have a couple emails. Which one do you want to do first?
All right. Well, let me bring up. Let's see. I'll start off with Nick O'Sullivan. Nick had sent us an email saying, "Hey guys, wanted to say and hopefully get in before you record your next show. So, thanks for talking about RHEL and CentOS in the last episode. It's prompted me to start learning enterprise-focused Linux distros. So, I've got a VM running and I'm currently tinkering with it. I'm slowly getting away from the Linux spin-offs. P.S. I wrote you earlier in the year when I had recently made the switch to Pop! OS, which I'll probably stay on for the time being while I continue to learn. Actually, I'll be very curious to see, he needs to keep us up to date with that because I'm very curious about Pop! OS in general. I mean, it's been getting a lot of positive press. And only recently maybe a little bit of shade, but I'm really interested in that OS because I might try it myself.
Well, I said on a previous episodes multiple times, I have a belief. It's not a truth. It's not a fact. It's a belief, which might be based in reality. I don't know. Debian-based distributions, including Pop! OS, are great for home entertainment utilization, and RPM-based distributions, to me, seem to be better for enterprise-focused type work. So what I'll say is, Nick, this is the thing. If you want to be up on top of all the enterprise-related things, I'll just say this. I had a good opportunity to sit down and speak with a direct contributor to opensource.com. OpenSource.com is a Red Hat owned domain where they literally pay people to sit down, do research, post articles, and basically engage with people is the way that I put it. It's like a loss leader for them. I'm sure they don't make any money from this website, but it's besides being good PR, it gives people open ecosystems to post their thoughts, kind of thing. Among the contributors to this website is Seth Keaton, which I have no problem in saying is one of the more intelligent Linux minded folks that I've ever listened to. So if you want to be enterprise focused, opensource.com I think is a good hub to go check out. A lot of Kubernetes talk, a lot of governing kind of thing, a lot of OpenStack, a lot of sysadmin type related things. I find it to be, honestly, it's in my RSS feed reader, tiny RSS, to where I review every single article header that's ever posted to that website now for like 3 years. And at least 3 times a week, I find something that I immediately pipe through a text to audio thing, and I find a good amount of articles that literally educate me on that website.
Nice. Let's see. You had a follow-up email as well. We're opening up the mailbag this week.
Yep. I don't remember the follow-up I had, but I'll say we do have more emails.
Oh, actually, I'll tell you what. So you have one that was supposed to be geared towards the mini PC show, but I'll bring up the next one, which came from Mark Rice. It was, hey, Dor, it was great to hear Jonathan again, and of course, I look forward to your shows. I'm glad you're confident enough, as I can't manage more than, 2 or 3 minutes recording for HPR. It was a shame to hear that the Linux community is still not accommodating otherly abled individuals. I am a Linux curmudgeon and wish they were better at this aspect of computing. Good on Jonathan for finding what works for him.
Yeah, and see, to me, Mark, you're not a Linux curmudgeon. You're just a guy who's quote unquote seen some stuff, and you know what you like, you know what to expect. It's easy to say it's shameful that Linux developers don't take accessibility seriously, but nobody takes accessibility seriously unless you need accessibility or you as a company believe you can make money off of it. Jonathan smartly, very intelligently said, I'm going to do what works for me. I'm not going to do things just because I have to kind of mentality. And he will come back to the show. He just had things happening, very busy. The goal is to basically have him on as a permanent fixture as long as he wants to be here.
Well, and also one of the things I wanted to add on to it too is that, again, Jonathan's attitudes are not surprising given being on the sidelines and watching firsthand the frustration, and in some cases actually being directly involved with some of these projects. And I got to tell you, if he would have just simply, set the whole house on fire and walk out the front door of Linux, I couldn't say anything about it, because he's been through all of it. And, again, these days, his energies are focused more on music. So more to come on that. Actually, I got the third email, so I'll go ahead and just run through that one. This one was from Jason Milkey. Dor, why do you say that Sync thing isn't open source? Is it a license? Just curious. He said, good show, listen all the time. Cheers, Jason.
Well, Jason, I believe Jason Melky is how it's pronounced. Milky. I'm going to say Milky. The reason I said that is because I'm stupid. Hi, I'm Door Geek. I'm human and make mistakes. And I'm really shocked that no one caught me on that. Well, let me rephrase that. Jonathan or Bruce didn't catch me on that live in the show. I literally had my brain backwards. Now, I could make excuses. Well, I've had 800 concussions in my life. Easily. So that's what did it. No, I'm just an idiot. Sync thing is completely open. BitTorrent Sync is the one that is not open at all. Both of them, in my opinion, though, are incredibly similar in their fit, in their finish, in their form, and in their function. My reply to him after thanking him for being very polite, not being complete D-bag, about my mistake, he was very polite, and I thank him because politeness is in 2020 seems rare. Thank you very much, Jason. But I'll say it like this: if you never watched Good Eats, Alton Brown, many seasons of TV from Food Network from I want to say early 2000s, a combination of science, logic with food and cooking kind of thing, which really made me tingle a little bit when I watch it. Really smart guy, seemed like a really nice guy as well. He made me not like the idea of unitasking applications. Now, if I'm going to use rsync, that's a command. It's a simple little command to do one thing, and I'm fine with that. But to use an application, to devote a server to an application that literally can only do one thing, like sync thing, I am morally opposed to. I would much rather have a framework, an ecosystem, a set of tools that are expandable, that are configurable, that have add-on capabilities, whatever, more functionality available to them. And Nextcloud is my choice for that solution. But I also say, when I say Nextcloud, I say that like saying Kleenex. My actual solution is called Nextcloud Pi, which is a very specific version of Nextcloud geared towards either virtual machines or small form factor computers, which is why he sent this to MIDI PC, because I always talk about it there. But I believe Jason just had this email address open to him, but I'm 99% sure this was an email focused towards this show, because I believe this is the show I inadvertently said Sync Thing was not open source.
Well, I wouldn't have made that catch, so I'm glad our listeners do. That's why we engage them. So, again, everybody, thanks for your feedback. That's awesome stuff because, something that took me a little while to get more hooked into is actually engaging the community more. So, again, we appreciate it. Dor, with the myriad of links that you have sent, would you like to start off with everybody's favorite developer in Ike Doherty?
Oh, yes, but I got to say this also first. I want to thank Bruce for all of his work on the Facebook side of things. I know it doesn't matter what I think, I feel, or I believe. A huge percentage of people that listen to this show will be on Facebook and loving it, kind of thing. So if you are on Facebook, take a look at, I believe it is still facebook.com/podnuts, and At least a couple times a week, I'll shoot Bruce links that I find interesting, and I think he finds interesting, and then he's been posting them to our Facebook page. So if you want to like be up to date on what we could be talking about during the show, I think that's a good way to do it.
And actually, I posted the Solus article on our Facebook site, so it's already up there. So if you've done your homework and you've already read it, you guys are ahead of the game.
Yeah. Ike Doherty, look, he's no Moxie Marlinspike, and if you don't know who Moxie Marlinspike is, he's the guy behind the protocol used in Signal, used in Red Phone, used in a couple other things that are really insanely privacy focused. To me, he's going to be in like 100 years. You look under M in the encyclopedia, and I believe there's going to be an entry for Moxie Marlinspike. I'm not sure Ike has reached that level yet, but he's trying. That's the most important thing, okay? The long and the short of it is, Ike has amassed a lot of knowledge in his years of life, which is not as old as me, but he's amassed a good amount of knowledge, and he's learned from everything that he's done to where every project he then goes on to is better for it. He created late in 2019 a game IDE, a game developing environment called Serpent. What basically I believe just happened in the last couple of weeks is he's then decided to take that IDE developing environment and twist it and turn it into a complete operating system. So we're going to have polished, it's going to be polished here soon enough and completely distributable and ready to download, a game IDE with a complete ecosystem surrounding it called Serpent OS. Now, right now, I believe it only does 2D, like platforming, side scrolling, think, Super Mario Brothers or Celeste kind of thing. But I do believe he has greater things in mind, but he's taking his time in doing it because Ike, in my opinion, does things right. But it is going to be lightweight, user-friendly, and privacy-focused distribution called Serpent OS.
Now, a couple of things that I like about it is that in the article, we've got some bullet points on some decisions that were made. And, again, what I like about it is that, Linux gives you the ability to make any of the decisions you want, and sometimes to the detriment. Because, if you look at a Debian meeting with all of the people involved, that's got to be a nightmare to negotiate. But, for the OS here, he's simply given these short bullet points and a short reason why he's putting this on or taking it off. For example, UEFI only, no more legacy boot. But good decision because, again, if you're running really, really old hardware, maybe this might not be the OS for you. And we're not disparaging your lack of resources. Other people run things for the reason they're running it. Not diving into that. It's completely open source, down to the bootstrap and rebuild scripts. Third-party applications are reliant on containers only. No compatibility hacks, because he chooses not to complicate his life, and more cred to him for that. Wayland only. X11 compatibility via containers will be investigated, but most likely not worked on, because let's face it, for those who really want sort of the latest and greatest, and this isn't necessarily that, but it gives you a more up-to-date OS that is built for today's machines, and, quite frankly, that's actually refreshing.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. If I have a choice to live in Utah and have 5 wives, or live in Maryland and have 1 wife, I'm going to choose the more manageable choice. I'm not going to support multiple boot environments. I'm not going to support all this crazy thing. UEFI is the future of computing. Nobody's making legacy boot computers anymore. Of course they are, but not really. So it makes sense that he's not going to support that, because the logic is he wants what's built today to still be relevant in 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years, not just for somebody who won't let go of Pentium 4 computers. Okay. Now, the sad truth is, if you only have legacy boot computers in your life, that was a choice that you made. Let's be honest with each other, okay? It was a choice you made. If you don't want to take the things to the dump, take the things to the recycler, take the things out of your house, and actually upgrade your systems, I guarantee you it's not because you can't afford it. And if you can afford it, mail at podnuts.com. I will help you get new computers. I've helped now about 20 people in the last 7 months get new computers, because if you don't have a more modern computer, you are going to be like in the bad movie featuring Kirk Cameron. You're going to be left behind. You need newer stuff. We all need newer stuff. So I'm okay with him being selective about what he supports, because I got no problem saying this either. He's smarter than me. He is clearly smarter than me. So if he says we're only going to support Wayland, we're only going to support UEFI, well, damn it, if I want to run it, I got to play by his rules.
Right, and I think one of the more important bullet points I missed was moving away from the 64-bit generic baseline to the newer CPUs, including Intel and AMD specific optimizations. You know, again, he's getting this ready for the present and future. And, you know, we go back to some of the older machines. Today, if you go to microcenter.com, and I'm not praising them or pushing them, but you can go to open box items and get a top line machine for literally $150. You know, so there really isn't any excuse if you're living in this country at least. But anyway, the short of it is that I like where this is going, and in some ways, I think that the next major comet should be named after Ike, because he disappears for a while, and then when he comes back, it's something spectacular. So this is it.
Yeah, and I'm going to quote a line verbatim from this article from itsfalse.com, which I have mixed feelings about. But I'll say it like this. If you don't like the website you're going to look and feel, load Firefox, and then after Firefox loads the page completely, in the address bar all the way to the right, they have what's called reading mode. I believe it's Control Alt and R, the letter R, and it basically gets rid of all the ads, is the way I'll put it. Okay. Here's the line. Ike boldly claims that Serpent Linux is not Serpent GNU Linux, because it's not going to be dependent on the GNU toolchain or runtime. The development for Serpent OS project starts by the end of July. There's no defined timeline on the final stable release. Under promise, over deliver. Okay, that's how you're successful. 2, I love the fact that he says straight up, this is not GNU Linux. This is Linux. In 2020, it seems like most people, in my humble opinion, would almost be afraid to say such a thing, where Ike, I'm pretty sure he's not afraid of a lot of things. And they go on to say how he's made the first Solus back in 2013. Then he went on to Evolve OS. And after that, I got no problem also saying he's also the mastermind, I believe, behind Clear Linux, which is the Intel-derived version of a from-scratch operating system that, in benchmarking, outperforms basically everything it's ever existed. Gentoo, Slackware, Debian, RHEL, OpenSUSE, anything. It outperforms everything because it's so heavily optimized, and I believe that's because of Ike's finagling, his magic fingers. And I believe the same thing that he used to make that happen, he's learned and he's going to put in this game development kit. For years and years, I've dreamt of making like some Podnuts focused game. If this IDE gaming environment is simple enough, even for this mental invalid named Door Geek to use, there might actually be a Podnuts game.
Well, I'll definitely keep an eye on that. Let's see. So, any more thoughts before we move on to the next?
I'm just really happy that people like Ike exist, where it seems like he gets literal like self-jubilation from disruption, but also innovating and just filling niches that nobody else even acknowledges as being a niche. Who the hell is filling the IDE for gaming niche on Linux? And the answer is nobody. And then turning it into an operating system to where, trust me when I say this now, it's going to be more adept and it's going to be more advanced than other systems available from other companies, whether it be NVIDIA, Microsoft, or Sony. Little doubt in my mind, he's going to do things that are going to make everybody change how they're doing things now.
Now, one of the reasons why I admire Ike is because the man is so bright that he has enough confidence to carry on the things that he wants. And it's great because he sets the rules to his own game. This is his game. And if we want to play, we play by his rules. And I like the fact that he's intelligent enough to set up everything to be the way we expect it to be when we fire this up from either a live CD or we install it on our own machines. And so, you know, that's the gold standard I'd like to eventually work to. I want to get to the point where I'm calling all the shots and I do it when I feel like it. More power to Ike on this, and lots of I don't even have to wish him luck on this project because I'm pretty sure the project will fly without it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say, like, interlude, if you want to catch this show live, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Discord. We try to post links at least 15 to 20 minutes before we go live. We do go live on YouTube, even though I find YouTube to be the biggest cesspool of anything I've ever imagined in my life. It's super easy for me to use them as a live platform and as an emergency backup. So if my data files are corrupt or Bruce's data files are corrupt, I can always pull the audio from YouTube, worst case scenario, and have the show go live. I want to thank Charles for coming out to the live show. Charles is a really young guy by my standards, who is unbelievably passionate in his little hackerdom stuff that he's going. He is active in our Discord group, which is in the link. So if you like hacking around and you're an anime fan, I'll say Charles is the kind of guy who I think you'll be very comfortable around.
Now, here's something you're going to have to remind me of because we thought about it at the end of the last show. You did want me to bring this up, but I'll bring it up next show when Jonathan's on board. It was, why was the Linux Basics community so successful?
Well, I mean, I'll touch on it and then we can bring it back up. It's a super squishy thing. It's ephemeral. It's not only a longitude and a latitude, but it's also a period in time where all these things happen just at the right time. But in reality, passion. My passion, Knucklehead Tech's passion, Newstetter's passion, your passion, Regex's passion, Jason Benoit's passion, all these people's passion is what makes anything successful. It's not my talent or ability. It's not Knucklehead Tech's, access to things. It wasn't the fact that Jonathan was in Massachusetts. It wasn't the fact that it was just passion and Russ Winter. It was just the passion to want to do stuff is all it took. I was over a guy's house yesterday and he asked me about podcasting. Nobody in my real life listens to any of this stuff. And I'm okay with that because it honestly gives me more liberties and more freedoms to speak honestly without fear of offending any of them. But he asked me, he said, well, how many podcasts do you do a week now? Like 2? And I like chuckled. I said, well, in reality, I do about 10 to 11 podcasts a week. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe the amount of work that happened. I said, no, you got to understand. If you love something, there's no work involved at all. You don't believe me? Ask Cal Ripken, because, we're in Maryland. All the work he put in to being the best shortstop he could be, he never once counted his work. Well, and I'm in Maryland as well. So Michael Phelps, the pot-smoking Olympic medalist who won crazy medals, he had the passion to do it. So nothing felt like work to him. He loved doing it. When I do podcast, nothing feels like work. Because as soon as it feels like work, rest assured, I'm stopping podcasting.
No, those are great words to live by because I've been in that corner before where I've had a show which was centered around music, and I love it. But again, after a while though, when all these people who wanted to help fall off by the wayside, then it becomes a non-paying job that nobody likes. So yeah, if you can keep those fires stoked, more power to you.
Yeah, and I cannot, and I always forget. I am really upset. I can't remember the name of the Canadian guy. I know his initials are JN or JM. He was one of the first guys that pinged me about doing a Linux show, and then Knucklehead Tech pinged me about doing a Linux show, and then I dragged Russ Winter, the techie geek, into it and insisted he was involved with it, and then it just blossomed.
John Newstetter.
And I'll tell you right now, I met John Newstetter at a OLF. The heart-to-heart we had, it was me, him, and a guy named Stormwatch. Of course, that's not his name. We're in a room, and the heart-to-heart we had right there literally made me cry after the fact for a couple days, because it takes a lot for a man to be completely honest with another man. And when we talked about, the drive and the desire that all started all this Linux Basics things back in the past, he was unbelievably frank with me, which I unbelievably respect, because not a lot of guys seem to do that. Even if your name is Reg Exorcist and you're out there, I still love you because you're the kind of guy that makes me want to do good and do right.
Oh, and there's a man. If we could ever invite back to the show of some kind, I'd absolutely welcome with open arms, because something had gone south between us that I was unaware of. So anyway.
Yeah, it was a misunderstanding. And I'll say like this. In my podcasting life, there's been at least 3 people that have had just genuine misunderstandings, genuine, complete miscommunications and misunderstandings. Because look, the bottom line truth is we all cast ourselves as the hero in the story we tell ourselves about us. Nobody believes they're doing evil. Nobody believes they're doing wrong. Nobody believes they're being mean. Nobody believes they're being rude. They all believe that they're being right, honest, true, and pure. But perception is reality. Reg Exorcist got extremely offended at something. Nobody had any idea why. For weeks. And then by the time we figured out what it was, we tried to make amends. He made it very clear, leave me alone with my turtle and I'll be happy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because I think we lost a really key member of the community, because I enjoyed everything that he brought to the table for it. But transitioning on, I think one of the things that, I know that we've been toying with, and it may still come to light at some point, is actually trying to recreate, I guess. I don't know if I'd say recreate, but create a new environment where we had sort of a similar thing, because I got to tell you, those Friday sessions were absolutely on fire. They were the most fun that you could have legally.
Yes, that, and I have no problem in saying John Newstetter was the first guy, I want to say it was 2012, who insisted we should have an online conference. Well, here's 2020. Hi. Newstetter was right. Newstetter was shockingly right to where the idea of an online conference makes complete sense now.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, this was also one of the ideas that you had helped try to flesh out a little bit more too, because this was on the heels of the Northeast Linux Fest when we broadcasted that live back in 2014, and the idea was maybe we can try and get something together where we could actually make a live online event. And wow, it's nice in one hand, but I wish we could have cashed in on the other.
I know. And I will say this again, every single link that caught my attention will be in the notes. We don't have time to talk about every link in the notes. The one thing I want to mention is that it's been back and forth. LibreOffice. LibreOffice is owned, in air quotes, by what's called the Document Foundation, which is a consortium of other companies. And there's been a lot of rumor, there's been a lot of speculation, there's been a lot of stories, I'll say, that has came out of one like blog posting where they kind of insinuated the number one company who contributes to the code said this is a complete mess. This is disgusting. This is putrid. There's no way any of this is working right. And you're literally costing more money to maintain this than you're bringing in, which insinuated you're going to have to start charging money. And then everyone kept screaming at the top of their lungs, LibreOffice is going to cost money. Well, the Document Foundation said, no, there will always be a completely free version of LibreOffice that offers every single feature we offer. Okay. But I think they're going to start to offer premium support and a paid subscription to their software. And I'll say it like this. I live in the first world. I am very okay with subsidizing LibreOffice for people who can't afford it. And I can do it completely voluntarily. I have no problem with that. And quite literally, Mozilla just launched their VPN service. Mozilla is an example of a company that there's no way they're making enough money to withstand themselves. So they just launched a VPN service that right now only works on Android and Windows and maybe Mac OS X. And it's $5 a month. Here's my $5 a month. Thank you very much, Mozilla, for trying to be both moral, ethical, push code, push competition, and at the same time, you're trying to do right by, I don't want to say shareholders, but by the interest in the company to make some kind of money. So I support them as well.
So, interesting juncture here where we could decide where this goes next, but a couple of things first. So the Document Foundation is a charity. That's first and foremost. So they're out of the kindness of their heart, they've sponsored this program to build on it. But it also has developers from OpenSUSE and actually, I believe a German township too. These are, I think, folks that were key in the development of helping Munich migrate over from Windows to Linux. But just the same, what I'm trying to get at here is that at some point, they're going to have to. We're all going to have to pay for something along the lines of Linux. And as unpopular as that might sound, we are at the point at this stage of the game where Linux is not necessarily a hobbyist OS anymore. I mean, it has that outlet where you can mess around with the source code and do anything you want. But at some point, I think we have to look at the realities of this too. Some folks genuinely enjoy giving their time and doing this if they're retired or whatever. But then there are people that absolutely have to eat, pay their bills, and live in a house. And so I think that one of the things that Linux could do right now, get into the ground floor, do it kind of like a pay what you feel, because that's better than nothing. And more importantly, if they manage their money well, it could be, Linux Mint is seeing a fair amount of donors. I'd like to see CentOS have that kind, although they've got Red Hat backing to a small degree. But some of the smaller OSs, this would be a great opportunity to raise some capital and reward the people that are genuinely working hard to present something to you at a low, no cost option. What I would like to see, though, at some point, too, is a bold company going out there and saying, we've done our due diligence. We have compared our monthly license for LibreOffice versus the monthly license of Microsoft Office. And you're going to see a disparity of at least a couple $100 per person per license. That's the big difference right now, because it is whopping what Microsoft charges enterprise level licenses.
Yeah, and I'll say like this: the worst thing they could do is yo-yo, constrict too much and then release too much, and then constrict, to try to find that middle ground. I do think the best possible thing would be to just say, listen, if you can give us money, can you please give us money? And then a couple months later say, okay, now we're going to offer you this premium support package where you can contact us with any help you need with writing macros or anything else. And it's only going to cost a couple bucks. And then a couple months after that, and now you're also going to get like premium clip art or something that only a certain amount of people would really need. And then it's only going to cost like a little bit of money. But, everything else, they need to like slowly say, we need money. Because here's the whole thing. The worst thing you can do is like try to go too far and then come back, and then too far and then come back, and too far and then come back. I do think it like this. It's painfully obvious the Document Foundation has done a fantastic job with code maintenance, propagating code to to the actual production releases. They've done a really good job with PR. But if they're not watering their flowers in their own backyard and they're too busy putting out fires down the street, then everything that they work for will go to hell in a handbasket. So they need to, in my humble opinion, don't overreact. Do the right thing. Publicly ask, like during first time launching of the writer, the spreadsheet, whatever, if people can contribute money. Because there are plenty of people in this world who can and will, but they have to have that little push towards it. And I'm one of them. I have no problem helping those who help me, supporting those who support me. LibreOffice has supported me. They don't even know it. They've supported me for years, so I owe them.
Well, let's face it. Even if you can just $10 will go a long way, and that's not even 2 Starbucks coffees. It's almost not even 3 Dunkin' Donuts coffees either.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one that caught my eye that I just want to mention, just so I make sure that I mention it, is called Google Tsunami. Okay. The long and the short of it is Google, I believe, bought this company at least like 6 years ago. And now they've decided to take the entire code base of this application called Tsunami and put it in the public sphere, completely open source. Okay. Now, me being me, mildly conspiracy theorist kind of mindset, I'll say it like this. Everybody believes in something that isn't real. Some people believe in aliens. Some people believe that elected politicians are lizard people. Some people believe that that the Illuminati exists that's controlling everything in the background. Okay. We all believe in something. Great example. Pessimist Archive went back to 1890 and evaluated 100 years of of mails to newspapers to try to find out, do people today believe in more conspiracy theories or less? And the ruling was just as many, aka there's all kinds of stupid. And here's how I could be stupid. Okay. I believe Google is releasing this tool completely in open source to directly put out there the fact that no one company is going to own security. Okay, because what this is a great enterprise grade, enterprise level security vulnerability tool that one of the best things it does is it can help stop false positives. The worst thing you can do as an enterprise is do a scan on your network and have a false positive that causes you to shut down a service, shut down an account, or shut down something that negatively affects your business, your bottom line. Okay. And that's what Tsunami is meant to do. It's a security vulnerable scanner that has a very low rate of false positives. I love the fact that other companies are challenging and daring other companies to say who can be more open source friendly. And they're not doing it because they're good people. They're not doing it because they believe it's going to lead them to some gold path towards heaven. They're doing it to remain competitive. And it's because of nerds like me knowing this and then pushing other people towards companies that do this kind of good, which is why Google completely open sourced this code base, and good for them. Now, hopefully, places like Germany will continue to push towards more open technologies, and everything in the open will become much more safer.
One of the things I have to say that's really surprised me. So I recently, well, I can't say recently. It's been a year now since I've been back at my position here. But I guess understanding how little people understand security. Our group is responsible for creating VM environments for certain stages of development for our applications. And IT security came up and said, hey, you need to put this application on it and this. And I said, I want to be a part of it. I want to see what this looks like because I've never seen this tool run before. And they go, well, we're not going to set it up. You just need it on there. It's like uninstalled. Incredibly, they said yes. What's the point? All right, I'm going to jump off the soapbox.
No, I mean, that's okay. The way that I'll put it is there's good auto mechanics, there's bad auto mechanics. There's good dentists, there's bad dentists. There's good real estate agents, there's bad real estate agents. There's no such thing as good politicians. Okay. There's good security people, there's bad security people. There's a huge amount of security people that literally don't have any clue on how anything works. They just know to check the boxes that some test they took said they have to check. Between you and me, Bruce, we now have a security department at my 9 to 5, and I've secretly phished both of them. I've gotten reverse SSH proxies on their home computers, and then I showed them that, and they had no idea what they were looking at. I had to explain to them that you gotta do more than walk the walk and talk the talk. You gotta be the complete package, because if you didn't realize it yet, we are probably the biggest target inside of the state of Maryland for the sheer girth of data that we have available to us. And if you don't do what's right by the taxpayer, me, I'm going to make sure your superiors know that you don't know what the hell you're doing. Because somebody has to do it. Bottom line. You know what I mean? Just like Ike's releasing the IDE, the software, Google is releasing this stuff in the open source. Seth is putting really good articles up on open source. We all have to do our part. And if you don't, my dad always told me to lead, follow, or get out of the way. if you get out of the way, I'm fine with that. But don't act like you don't. Just get the hell out of the way and let the real people do their job.
Now, one of the things that I forgot to follow up on was a point to my rage. So, releasing to open source, and you're right, people are they're not doing it for the kindness or the benefit of, being a good citizen. They ultimately do it because they know at some point, if they can make this look good, somebody takes it on, inevitably, what are they going to need? A consultant to show them how to do it.
Yeah. Half PR, half future money. Yeah, and I will say there will be a link in the note to a ghacks.net article. Mozilla VPN launches in some countries officially. Okay. A company by default is only obligated to make money from the shareholders or whoever's in charge of it. I personally believe Mozilla is the exception of the rule. I do believe whoever is sitting up by the upper tiers of Mozilla actually has some belief that we have to do what's right by human beings, not just first worlders, not just, the people getting paid lots of money here, but we need to try to do what's right by every single person. Are they perfect? Hell no. Hell no, they make plenty of mistakes. But I trust them emphatically more than I trust a Google-based browser. I trust them emphatically more than VPN companies who advertise on other networks because their goal is not to maximize profit. Their goal is to make profit, but not to maximize profit. And I've now used the VPN on my phone for over 48 straight hours. I don't turn it off. And I'm going through Sweden because literally, why would I VPN through an American server? Look, I'm stupid. I'm not that stupid. On my Android device, I swear, Bruce, everything is faster. I'm going through Sweden. That's like almost halfway around the friggin' world. And I'm getting faster service than when I go through my local ISP on Wi-Fi, unencrypted, non-VPN. So for now, I'm happy to pay $5 a month because not only do my Reddit gifts come over faster, but my search queries, I swear, come across. Now, the only downside, when I do a search on a search engine and then I go to shopping results, it translates everything to some foreign currency. I have no idea what the hell it is, but everything else seems to work great.
Hey, however, the question is it military grade?
Military grade encryption, exactly. I'll just put it like this. Even if tomorrow I decide to turn the VPN off on my Android device and I don't use it on any of my desktops, I honestly think, Bruce, I hate to say it like this, I'm going to keep giving them $5 a month until they stop doing the service because somebody needs to give Mozilla money. If I give Mozilla money, technically speaking, I can send them an email and I guarantee you I'll get a different result than if I'm not paying them money and I send them an email.
Nope, I actually agree. That's something I should be looking into myself.
Yeah, and Firefox Send, or I'm sorry, I believe it was Mozilla Send, Firefox Send was a service that they took down for a short period of time because of a huge security vulnerability. It's been now fixed and patched. If you have the need to send less than 2 gigabyte files, it's completely free and anonymous. You can put it up there. Nobody can access that file unless they have the password. If you decide to password protect it, if you need more than 2 gig files, you have to basically create an account, and it's still completely free. So if you have issues sending files like via email, you can literally use Firefox Send, and I can tell you right now, it works unbelievably smooth, crisp, clean, easy interface. And if you want to support them, you literally just create a Firefox account and then you get more file size available to you. I'm really thankful Mozilla still exists. I'm fearful what would happen is if they go away.
Well, I'm sure that like anything else, I wouldn't be surprised if we started to see a soft push for a notification that says, "Could you give us $2?"
I know, and look, just like you said, we all need to eat. We all need to pay our bills. We all want Netflix. We all want mobile communications. We all want ubiquitous communications wherever we go. Welcome to the first world. I want everybody in the world alive today to be able to access the amenities that I take for granted here in the first world. I want everybody to experience that. And if that means I got to give Mozilla a couple bucks, if that means I got to give LibreOffice a couple bucks, if that means I got to give my automation service a couple bucks, if that means I got to give Nextcloud a couple bucks, if that means I got to give whatever a couple bucks, I got money, literally, I can throw away. And the reason I know that is every day when me and my wife decide what to eat, we don't even worry about going out to eat because we have enough money to throw away. And I'm not special. I'm a government employee. Everybody I know is getting paid more money than me. Okay. Everybody. I'm a government employee and I got money to spare.
Well, actually, and on that note, it's funny because that's a conversation my wife and I have had before too. It's like, how do you know we've made it? Well, we went to the shopping and we didn't look at the price of one thing.
Yep, exactly. Now, I will say, look, I convinced my wife after the birth of my second child, who is now 12 years old. I convinced her, if you step foot back in that building, I'm going to punch you in your neck. I made her quit. And so she went, and now she works for a private company. Granted, she experiences stress, but at the same token, they respond when they realize she's doing the work of 2 or 3 people. She literally just got another raise. Come October, she was told she's going to get a $6,000 bonus. $6,000 bonus. I remember when my car didn't cost $6,000. You know what I mean? And now she's getting that as a bonus. 2 words, congratulations. And number 2, how can I make you happy? Just let me know, because that's what I'm here for.
Well, one of the things I would like to point out, the conversation that we just had 15 years ago, we would have both been hung for heresy, talking about how people should be paid. At this point in time, there was a time, and I'm really surprised the attitudes prevailed as long as they did, of the expectation that anything having to do with Linux should remain free. I mean, that's just an unrealistic expectation, top to bottom, I mean, granted, there are wonderful people who've set things up for their own distributions that allow us to take advantage of them, but also, again, at a time, we have coffee money. Throw it to them if you can, Not everybody is in this situation, but I got to guarantee you that whether you're in Europe, whether you're in the U.S., Canada, even in some parts of Mexico, there's no reason why we all can't pitch into something that, quite frankly, is worthy.
Yeah, the example I'll use, which might be relevant to more people around the world, is I remember when we started Android App Addicts podcast, nobody wanted to pay any money for anything on that platform. And now I'm to the point where I almost don't trust applications that don't cost money, because the logic is if I'm paying money, then they don't have to sell my data. They don't have to sell my information. I have more of a say in what's going to be done with that application in future usage, to where now, if I download an Android application and it doesn't cost money, I don't trust it. Because if I don't have, a say to that company in how they're going to act or react, then why would they ever listen to me? Why would they care about me? It's my logic.
Nope, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, 2 more links I want to talk about just super quick, and I'm just going to talk about them. We're not going to go into any detail about it, and that is, sysinternals. Okay, sysinternals, long and the short of it, was created by a fella by the name of Mark Russinovich. Mark Russinovich was deemed so dangerous by the Microsoft executives that we have to hire him so we can control him, or else he could literally bring the entire company down with how much this guy knows. Okay. Because he was creating tools that Microsoft couldn't even understand. How the hell is he creating these tools? How does he know how to access the kernel the way he's doing? Because we didn't document none of this stuff. Okay. For a decade, the best tools a tech would use in determining what processes are good, is there anti-malware? I mean, is there malware on here? Is there viruses on here? How can I prime the computer to run better? You would need sysinternals tools. And then Microsoft basically bought him off. At one point in time, the rumor was he was the highest paid person at Microsoft for like 8 years. Nobody was getting paid more than him. Not the CIO, not anybody else, because they needed him there because he was so dangerous. Then they said, look, we want you to create this cloud-based system. He is the architect with everything Azure. So if Azure is successful, you better thank Mark Russinovich. And I can tell you right now, Azure is being pretty dang successful. But they finally took a couple sysinternal tools and literally ported them to Linux. Now, I know people out there love top, people with long beards, and then the people with shorter beards with like hair buns like H top, because that's what they do. But then you have people like me who love bash top. Gorgeous, dang good tool. But I'm going to tell you right now, these sysinternal tools that have been natively ported to Linux by Microsoft, something tells me they're going to catch hold and they're going to be really popular. Not only did they port Process Monitor, which is the granddaddy of examining what's running and how much resources it's taking up, but they also ported ProcMon, which is a really good hard look at processor processes on their operating system. To now have them native in Linux is one of those true indicators that Microsoft literally might give up any resources to developing a kernel in the future. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but it seems like whenever I see these kinds of things, it seems more possibly probable.
Oh, Mark Russinovich has long since been the gold standard with his book Sysinternals. I mean, I remember many years ago when I first got into the game with XP, some colleagues who had already been certified Microsoft techs said, if you want to learn everything about Microsoft that's not in a Microsoft book, here it is. And they gave me a copy of Sysinternals, which, of course, I didn't care back then, so I didn't read it. Success.
Yeah, it used to be called undocumented features is what he would do. Now I'll put it like this. One of the podcasts that makes me throw up in my mouth is Floss Weekly. But they just interviewed John Mad Dog Hall like 2 weeks ago. Anybody who cares anything about free Libra, open source software, open source ecosystems, free ideas in computing, you should listen to John Mad Dog Hall. I can't wait for the day when Mark Russinovich cuts the umbilical cord between him and Microsoft, because there's no doubt he has enough money right now. He could retire and his kids and grandkids and great grandkids are probably going to be set for life. I had no problem in saying it like this. John Mad Dog Hall was unbelievably inspirational to a generation of people. Moxie Marlinspike, guys like Ike Doherty have that potency with them too. And I have no problem with saying Mark Russinovich has the acumen and the charisma to be something much, much, much more important to the history of computing than sysinternals. I look forward to the day when he decides to just be himself and do what he wants to do and not sit behind a Microsoft desk and do what Microsoft would like him to do. Yeah, I didn't load any of the sysinternal tools on Linux because I can't. I mean, I'll do it when I have to, but right now I don't want to do it.
Well, I'm sure that those have one benefit that most Linux applications tend not to have. I'm sure it's going to be supremely polished.
Well, it's all CLI based, which we all know in the Linux world, if you want unbelievable power and unbelievable configurability and the ability to do whatever the hell you want to do, it has to be command line interface based, CLI based. Because once you put a GUI on top of something, you restrict and you limit everything. So they literally took these GUI based sysinternal applications and converted them to a CLI based interface, which I'm sure was not quick or easy, but is going to end up in endless innovation, and it's going to now mean I can create a GUI based application in Linux and use these as dependencies on the backbone to have my own orchestration in troubleshooting, to where I can take advantage of these sysinternal tools. So, um, I hate to say this out loud. If we get the year of the Linux desktop, it's going to be because of the tool chain that Microsoft is directly developing in Linux.
That may be truer than we care to admit.
I know. I gotta stop the show now. I'm getting depressed, Bruce.
Well, we'll have Jonathan on next time, so that'll give us hope.
I hope so. And I'll just put it like this. Look, if you want to listen to happier Linux podcast than this, you need to check out Going Linux, Larry Bushy and Bill, or GNU World Order with Klaatu. Two to me are the best, most premier, polished, nice people just going over actual Linux stuff. About half the Linux podcasts I listen to now seem to not talk about Linux. I don't understand how you can comfortably call yourself a Linux podcast when you're busy talking about like home automation or, guns or venereal disease or something. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, Bruce, what is your blog's URL?
My crappy blog is simply BruceNet, BRUC3net.wordpress.com.
Because I never remember anything, I'm going to ask that you send me that in email so I can make sure it's affixed in the textual notes to this podcast. And if you don't know how to access the notes on a particular podcast, typically you just tap the album art in your podcast player of choice. If that doesn't seem to work, you can easily go to podnuts.com, click on shows, click on Linux for the Rest of Us, click on any show, and you'll be able to see right there in text all of the text and URLs affixed with any show. I beg people that if you want to know the kind of things that makes me and Bruce and Jonathan tick, the notes are chock full of it. If you want to contact us, communicate with us, there's multiple ways you can do it. 7076-PODNUT. You can send us a voicemail. I haven't got a voicemail for a while. I like voicemail. You can send us an email, podcast@linuxfortherestofus.com. Now, if you want to email the network and not the show, mail at podus.com. If you want to email me directly and not the show, doorgeek@gmail.com. I want to thank everyone for their downloading, everyone for their supporting, everybody who supports anything free Libra in the world. Thank you, because if it wasn't for you, everybody would have to cut everybody else's throat and beg for money. Some of us go out of our way to support others. Always, always, always support those who support you, and never, ever forget, if you do not have root, you really do not know who does. Thank you for coming out, Bruce. Hope you have a good week, man.
Yeah, you too, Dor. Thanks.
Take it easy, everybody.
That was a really good show. Yep, I lost you.
Sorry. And without Jonathan, which shocks me.
It's one of those times that, I also had a little bit of time to go over all of these articles. It's funny because I would say that you were looking at my browser, with all of the tabs that I opened up because I opened up every one that you talked about. So that's pretty bizarre.
Well, I mean, whenever I ping something, whenever I peg something to the board, there's initial interest. It doesn't mean it's going to follow through to anything important, but it was just the kind of thing that I think people need to know about, people need to hear about, people should know is happening kind of thing. A lot of people don't want to know how the sausage is made. They don't have to, okay? But once in a while, you should understand. And that's like I tried to explain to my wife. No, to my sister-in-law. She didn't understand why I wasn't on Facebook. And I said, have you ever heard of the people who work at the hot dog factory who cannot eat a hot dog? Okay. I understand security. I understand privacy. I understand private corporations. I understand the advertising ecosystem. Because of that, I cannot feed Mark Zuckerberg more information to make more money that I don't believe he's going to do honorable things with. Bill Gates, surprisingly, thanks to his wife, surprisingly is doing good things with his money, which almost makes me okay with upgrading these servers at work and giving them more money. Oh, here's some more money there, Microsoft. We just upgraded to 2019. I'm almost okay with that because I believe at least a percentage of that money is going to go to giving people in the third world, kids in the third world, vitamin A shots, helping get rid of malaria, helping try to get rid of polio because we still have polio. How in the hell do we still have polio?
No, I totally agree. In fact, I just read an article from him the other day regarding COVID-19 and, what the foundation is trying to do. And he had very little good words when talking about this current administration. And it's embarrassing. So, I think it is a sad day when we're relying a man who ran a tech company to help pull us out of this predicament, along with, the people in the foundation that they're doing really good work with.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I just keep telling myself, Monty Python, always look on the bright side of life. It could be worse. I don't know how. We could have President Camacho, Hector Alexander Mountain Dew Camacho from Idiocracy.
Oh my God, he is my hero.
And between me and you, Bruce, I love my dad. I love my dad. He's I think 82 now. I don't know how he's still alive. Let's just say that. My dad tried to tell my son for some reason that Terry Crews was gay. To which I first said, who cares if he is? But secondly, he has 3 kids, right? Rock Hudson didn't have 3 kids. I said, just because he's flamboyant doesn't mean he's gay. This isn't Liberace you're talking about here. This is Terry Crews. Have you seen the guy? I'm pretty sure he could squash you, kind of thing. But he has 3 kids, Dad. He says, well, that doesn't mean anything. Actually, it does. It means there was a chance his private part went and interacted with the private part of somebody of the opposite sex, which is not how gay works. And he was like super upset at me. I said, look, I'm not saying he isn't something else, but he has a wife, he has kids. He posts on Instagram all the time, conversations with his kids. He's honest and out there. I don't think he's what you think he is. And he was like really upset. He didn't talk to me for a couple of days.
Well, again, there is the internet for everything.
Yeah. All right, Bruce. I'm going to go take some pain meds and post-produce this puppy.
Nice. You have the the file that from Mumble, so you should be on your way.
Awesome.
All right, sir. Have a great week.
All right, man. Take it easy.
We'll talk to you soon.